Well, Nissan is famous for the practical but little boring Micra hatchback, the very roomy as well as large sunny saloon, and the very capable Terrano SUV. But there's also one very charming as well as very muscular product which the company is famous for across the globe, and it's a car which a lot of you who've played video games over the last 10 years will know of. What am I talking about? Well, it is the all-new Nissan GT-R. Well, so this of course is a very famous car in terms of performance, but there's also another reason why it's famous for, and that reason is below the hood. So we will start this review by opening it up and showing you what we're talking about. Well, so I have not opened up the bonnet to show you the beautiful V6 motor over here, which makes over 565 bhp. I've opened it up to show you the signature of the master craftsman who has built this engine. Well, only 5 master craftsmen across the world are allowed to build this engine, and this one has been built by Tsunemi Oyama, and of course his name has been stamped on this engine for eternity. And since we are outside, let's talk about the boring bits, let's talk about the boot and get the practicality bits out of the way. So let's have a look at the boot. Well, as you can see, it's a decent boot in terms of its shape, and it is a wide boot. In terms of overall capacity, this boot can hold at least 2 big bags, and if you are a fan of golfing, then you can chuck in those bags over here without any issues because the opening is really nice and wide. So that is the end of the practicality thing. Now let's get driving this car. Well, so the Nissan GT-R comes with a 3.8 litre twin turbo V6 engine, and this engine makes about 565 bhp of power, which are very good figures. Well, and all that power is sent to all 4 wheels via a 6-speed automatic gearbox, and the 6-speed automatic gearbox is a fantastic unit on this car. And why is that? Well, simply because it is a very quick shifting gearbox and there is no lag when you shift gears even manually, and you can of course shift gears by using these little flappy pedals over here behind the steering wheel. And all it takes is a quick millisecond to shift the gears up or down, depending of course where you're driving it. And if you want that quick overtaking maneuver on the road, this gearbox really is fantastic for it. Well, so even though the Nissan GT-R is a car which you should be using on the racetrack, it is also a car which you can use on a day-to-day basis, and you can of course do that by simply using the comfort setting over here for the suspension. And when you use that setting, this car's suspension really does soften up a bit, and you can of course glide over those badly patchwork roads in the city without too much of fuss. Yes, the ground clearance isn't the best, but even then you can of course maneuver your way around those badly patchwork roads and go over those rumble strips without them being very uncomfortable or filtering into the cabin. This car does manage to soak in the bumps to a relatively decent extent for a supercar. Well, so this car can do 0 to 100 in around 3 seconds, which is phenomenal. But the best part is that the speeds really do build up very quickly, so you can be doing illegal speeds without you even knowing it. But if you are someone who is buying this car, then this car is not about straight line speed, it's more about going around corners, because the suspension and the steering wheel are absolutely crisp. And this steering wheel is a steering wheel which will really grip the road. It really feels like this car is glued onto the road. It feels as if it's got that super glue, it's got that leash-like grip on the road, and you will simply enjoy driving it in those hilly sections if you're lucky enough to take it up the hills, and you'll also enjoy it on the racetrack. It really is a car meant to be driven hard on any racetrack across any part of the world. Well, Nissan has used a lot of new techniques on this car, and they have used a lot of systems to dampen out the road and wind noise from the outside. But all you hear inside now is an enhanced version of the engine note, and it really is a very crisp and a very creamy note. It really is a note which will put a smile in your face. Well, talking about the steering wheel on the Nissan GT-R, it's pretty light enough when you are driving it in the city, which is a pretty good thing, because if you have to maneuver it around town traffic and escape those cab drivers, it's a good car to do that in. But It does tend to add decent weight when you take it out on the highway, and even when you take it out on the racetrack, it does seem to add a lot more weight. And it really is one of the best steering wheels that I've driven on any car in quite a while now. Well, if you are someone who considers himself an average driver and are scared of buying a supercar simply because you think that those cars end up biting you and can humiliate you on public roads if you overstep the limit, well, then this is a car for you, because it's a very friendly car. It's not a car which will scare you. It's pretty maneuverable. It's got good visibility around. It's got good suspension. It's pretty comfortable, and it's a car which simply will forgive you even if you do decide to overstep the limits of the car. It's a car which is very forgiving in nature. It's not like a Lamborghini which can really get out of hand, and neither is it like a Ferrari which takes a lot of solid commitment to drive and a lot of focus as well. So overall, Nissan has truly built a supercar which everyday drivers can truly use. Well, not only is forward visibility very good, you get a very good view of the road behind you, because the rear glass is pretty big and it's not overtly slanted, so you get a good view of the road behind you, and you get a good view of the traffic all around you. And that's a very good thing, considering that all our cities in India are really filled with chock-a-block traffic most of the times. So that's something that is very, very good about this car. You get a good view all across. And the other good point about this car is the fact that it's got very good weight distribution. Yes, even though the engine is up ahead in the front, all the transmission as well as the other components are at the back, and that means that you get very good weight distribution between both the axles. Well, acceleration is absolutely brutal on this car, and once you pin the accelerator pedal down all the way to the floor, you can really be bolted back in these seats, and it's something which simply does not get boring or old, no matter how many times you've done it, and you can keep doing it again and again and again, and it'll put a smile on your face every time you do it. Well, if you are someone who doesn't really enjoy talking too much with the occupant over here when you are driving, you can of course use the fantastic Bose stereo which comes as standard with this car, but you can also tell them to have a look at this big screen over here, because it has a lot of information on it. It gives you things like G-forces, actual turbo boost, as well as the fuel economy, among other things. Well, special mention must be made of those big and chunky tires, and those tires along with the all-wheel drive system on this car and those massive brakes means that you will always have confidence in this car's dynamic abilities. In fact, driving this car on the road and changing directions makes you feel that this car is driving on rails and not on tires. Yes, it really does feel very, very confidence inspiring in terms of its dynamic abilities as well as the feedback that you get from this steering wheel. It really is fantastic. Well, as I just said, special mention must be made about the brakes as well, and these brakes have solid bite in them, and as soon as you hit that brake pedal hard, this car does drop the proverbial anchor down very hard and very fast. Well, so the quality levels of the GT-R are very good, and you also get this leather stitching over here on the top of the dashboard, which means that perceived quality is excellent. It is a car which is very centered around the driver. So overall, it is a very well packaged and a very sporty place to sit inside. Well, the seats over here are excellent. They're very nice in terms of cushioning, and even though they are a bit on the firmer side, longer journeys should not be an issue, because the seat scob is pretty long and it has very good support for those long and tall under thighs. Well, not only is this cabin very driver focused, because of course you get this little tilt towards the driver, it's also a very practical place to be in. Yes, we are of course Autoportal, and we will talk about practicality no matter which car we're talking about. So you get these two cup holders over here. You also get a big tray where you can of course keep your cell phone and your wallet, and the door bins can also hold those small water bottles which you can buy from the nearby vendor. So overall, decent in terms of practicality, and you've also got two chairs at the back which are decent for short city trips for people who are about 5'5" or 5'6". If you are 5'10" like me, then you might struggle in them for any journey which is over 20 minutes overall. But you know what, this is a sports car. It's a 2+2 seater, so back seats, really nobody cares about them too much in these sort of cars. If you of course have the money for this, you'll also have money to have a Range Rover behind you where your friends can come along and tag. Well, so after having driven the Nissan GT-R for the entire day, I've come to the conclusion that if you are lucky enough to have this kind of cash lying around, then the GT-R really is a dream machine. And I don't have too many superlatives to give you for this car, except make some noise. It's bye for now, and hope to see you soon.